Joining me now is Nationals leader David Littleproud. David, thanks so much for your time. I don't want to be too extreme about this, but does something need to change in Parliament House? Is there enough support for you and your colleagues?
Yes, it's already changed from the Jenkins review, and there's a lot of support there, and whoever needs it knows it's there. And as a party leader, my responsibility is to make sure that if there are incidents, we make them available. But I think we just need to take a cold shower on this. Perrin Davies has admitted she had a couple of drinks, but she was not drunk. And in fact, when you've got two of the Parliament's biggest statesmen in Mark Colton and Michael McCormack, who were there at that Whips drinks, categorically state that Perrin was not drunk. And if you look at the full 12 minutes of questioning that Perrin put in at that Senate estimates, she was fully coherent in terms of the questioning that she put forward. It was a long day, and I think we all slur our words from time to time, and I think this is a bit of an overreach. I have every confidence in Perrin and her ability, and if you look at the very next day, the way that she actually prosecuted again in the Senate, these are very long days, and I think she's been very clear that she wasn't drunk, and I support her wholeheartedly.
I haven't been able to speak to Perrin personally myself, but have you spoken to her? I mean, is she thinking now that perhaps even 2 glasses of wine at Parliament House after a long day is perhaps not a good idea?
Oh, look, I've spoken to Perrin a number of times over the weekend, and she obviously has been upfront. She had a couple of drinks, as most of us do, to wind down and make sure that it's within the prescribed environment, that no one goes beyond that. But for, when you see these teals running around dripping with sanctimony and self-righteousness, they've somehow created this utopian universe in their own minds that everyone should actually adhere by, but is so out of touch with real society. We actually are responsible as adults as we go to Parliament, and Perrin takes that very seriously. And the questioning that she put in over those 12 minutes was quite legitimate. And I think that we're trying to blow and conflate something here where Perrin has a proven track record. And I've spoken to her. She wants to get on with a job that she's been prosecuting quite hard for regional Australia.
Yeah, it's interesting when these stories arise. Usually there's someone from within who, gives a pointer to a journalist, and I don't know whether that's happened in this point, but sometimes their own goals. Is that the case here?
No, well, if you look where this story emanated from, it emanated from Dee Madigan, a Labor strategist. I mean, let's be serious. And if we want to go back and play this game, I don't think we should. I think we should be adults. We all live up with the responsibility coming this. We don't need to prosecute one another. And I think the professionalism that Perrin has shown over many years in the Senate has meant that she has been elevated to the deputy leadership of the National Party because she has it. And for Anthony Albanese to take a potshot to say that we're out of touch with the people we represent, well, he might want to venture out into regional Australia. He's as popular as the pox in regional Australia because he is destroying regional Australia, not just agriculture and the farming families out here, but also with the continued race to 82% renewables. And now he wants to take away our tools of trade, not just for farmers, but for families who don't have a choice about an EV. They need SUVs to take the kids to town, to childcare and to school. You want to be out of touch. Well, Anthony Albanese has shown that, and if he wants to come to the bush, he'll get a real reception. Let me give you 6-4 on that.
Well, there's been a lot of column inches dedicated to Barnaby Joyce over the weekend. Some suggesting that his popularity in his own electorate is overstated, that he's an embarrassment to the National Party. What do you think?
Well, I just look at the last election results. Barnaby got over 50% of the primary vote. There's only about 6 or 7 seats in the country where the local member can say that they didn't need preferences, they got there on first preferences. So I think you just need to take a cold shower, everybody, and calm down. Barnaby has admitted to the mistake, and Barnaby has had the courage to come forward and admit that. And that's what I think, I respect in our party room, that we're real people. We're not without faults in the National Party, but we're reflective of our community in making sure that we fight for them, and we take that common sense to Canberra to make sure that their views, their aspirations are heard.
Yep, well said. Look, I think with all these things, when we're preaching, whoever that may be, you risk setting standards that absolutely no one can meet, but we'll see where that goes. I know you're in Orange. You're talking about wind farms. What's going on there?
Well, again, this is this reckless race to 82% renewables, and they're asking regional Australia to bear the brunt of it. And in Molong, there's a project here where farmers and even environmentalists are against. We're destroying the very thing we're there to protect. We're destroying the environment, the native environment, and it doesn't take into account the transmission lines. We're not against renewables in totality, but all these wind factories and solar factories and transmission lines are impacting us. Let's pause, let's plan. And why wouldn't we, if you want to continue on with renewables, put them on the environment, like solar panels on an environment they can't destroy, on people's rooftops where the concentration of power and concentration of population is, where it's required, and support families to have energy independence with a battery on the side of the house instead of us bearing the brunt of it out here. That would take away a lot of the need for the transmission lines and for us to lose our food security and drive up your food prices. We just want some common sense, and these communities haven't been consulted well enough, and we're going to be in their corner, and we'll have a sensible energy policy that we take to the next election that, because of the Nationals, will include nuclear energy.
Well, how popular do you think nuclear reactors are going to be? You're going to put them in orange?
Well, I think where we've said very clearly is that they should go where existing coal-fired power stations are, because then you alleviate the need for the 28,000 kilometres of new transmission lines. I have 4 coal-fired power stations in my own electorate, and I've made it clear I'm prepared to lead my community through a conversation about a small-scale modular nuclear reactor in one of those communities where those jobs will be protected. I'll lose 600-700 jobs in Kingaroy in 2030. Those families could have a future. We should back ourselves with the new technology and the smarts that Australia has. Just take away the ban. Let's fight this out in the marketplace, not politicians yelling at one another who's right and who's wrong on costs. The market, if you take away the ban, will determine whether it's feasible or not.
Okay, we will see. David, thanks so much for your time as always.